While the Hagia Sophia is probably not the oldest intact building in the world, the Pantheon in Rome and the Basilica di Sant'Ambrogio in Milan were both built earlier. It certainly comes close. Today, the current Hagia Sophia is about 1,480 years old and has survived hundreds of earthquakes throughout history. The age, size, magnificence, architecture and mystical atmosphere make it truly a unique place. The Hagia Sophia has always been regarded as a symbol of medieval Christian mysticism. Throughout Byzantine and Ottoman history, the building served as the imperial church or mosque. Emperors were crowned here, victories celebrated, and Ottoman sultans said their prayers inside. For many centuries, the Hagia Sophia was the largest shrine in the world, a title it still holds today. The church was named for Christ, rather than being dedicated to a saint. Translated to English, Hagia Sophia means holy wisdom. Today's Hagia Sophia is the third building to have been built on this site. The original building, constructed in 360 CE, was a basilica with a wooden roof. This original church, which also went by the name of Megal Ecclesia, Great Church, was burned down in a riot in 404. Theodosius II replaced it with a massive basilica in 415. Which burned down during the Nika revolt against Justinian in 532. 40 days after the revolt, Justinian began rebuilding the Hagia Sophia once again. He reopened it in 537, entering the building with the words, "Solomon, I have surpassed you," a reference to the fact that Solomon's great temple in Jerusalem was the largest until the third Hagia Sophia. One Hagia Sophia becomes a mosque. After conquering Constantinople in 1453, Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II immediately went to the Hagia Sophia and ordered that it be converted into a mosque. It has remained a mosque ever since. In the following century, the architect Sanar was commissioned to make restorations and add Islamic elements to the building. Minarets, the mihrab and the minbar, were added, and appropriately positioned to face toward Mecca, 10 degrees south of the main axis of the building. Buttresses on the eastern side were added during the Ottoman period. In time, the Hagia Sophia became a complex consisting of tombs, a fountain, a library and more. When being used as a mosque, the mosaic panels remained, but the figures' faces were covered. After the 18th century, the mosaic panels were covered completely. 2 Hagia Sophia becomes a museum. The Hagia Sophia was used as a church for 916 years and as a mosque for 481. In 1935, the Turkish government secularized the building, converting it into a museum, and the original mosaics were restored. In June 1931, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the first president of the Republic of Turkey, permitted the Byzantine Institute of America, established by Thomas Whittemore, to uncover and restore the original mosaics in Hagia Sophia. The Institute's works were continued into the 1960s by Dumbarton Oaks. The restoration of Byzantine mosaics has proven to be a particular challenge since it meant the removal of historic Islamic art. 3 Hagia Sophia again reverts to a mosque. Hagia Sophia held the status of a museum until 2020 when the Turkish government reconverted it back into a mosque. Hagia Sophia is still open to visitors, including non-Muslims, but you must dress appropriately. 4 A golden dome suspended from heaven. We know that the faithful attributed the structural success of Hagia Sophia to divine intervention. Nothing is more illustrative of the attitude than descriptions of the dome of Hagia Sophia. Procopius, biographer of the Emperor Justinian and author of a book on the buildings of Justinian, is the first to assert that the dome hovered over the building by divine intervention. 5 Hagia Sophia before Justinian. The history of Hagia Sophia began long before Justinian. After moving the capital of the Roman Empire to the city of Byzantium and renaming it Constantinople, Constantine the Great had enlarged the existing city by 3 times its original size. As a large population was being moved to the city, it was in need of more space for new believers. This included building a large cathedral close to the imperial palace, finished under Constantius II in 360. It was probably a U-shaped basilica, typical for 4th century churches in Rome and Holy Land. This church was destroyed in the riots after Patriarch John Chrysostom was exiled from the city in 404. Almost immediately, the construction of the new church began as ordered by Emperor Theodosius II. The name Hagia Sophia came into use around 430. This new church was probably a basilica with 5 naves, galleries, and an atrium on the west side. Theodosian Hagia Sophia was burned to the ground in 532 during the Nika revolt against Emperor Justinian I. 6 Justinian surpassing Solomon. After suppressing the revolt, Justinian decided to rebuild the great church. In preparation, marbles were brought from all over the Aegean lands, thousands of workers gathered, and logistics and monitoring of the building were handed to Anthemios of Tralles and Isidorus of Miletus. After just 5 years, the new Hagia Sophia was consecrated. Unlike the previous versions of the church, Justinian's Hagia Sophia plan is a mixture between a basilica and a centrally planned building. The interior of Hagia Sophia was paneled with marble of various colors, and columns taken from ancient buildings were reused to support the arcades. The original dome collapsed in 558 after an earthquake and was replaced in 563. Procopius, Justinian's court historian, described it as a golden dome suspended from heaven.